is sick. Dude, bro, this party is sick. Dude, bro, this party is sick. Dude, bro, this party is sick. Dude, this party has like 5 different kinds of nachos. Whoa, that's off the hook crazy.
5 different nachos.
5 different nachos.
5 different nachos.
5 different nachos.
Last train to Awesome Town.
Come on, everybody, won't you party with me now?
Last train to Awesome Town.
Come on, won't you party with me? Do.
Last train to Awesome Town.
The roof is on fire, gonna burn it to the ground here.
Last train to Awesome Town.
Come on, won't you party with me? Party with me. Party with me. Party with me. Party with me.
5 different nachos.
All right, you are listening to the Nerd Edification Hour on Alternation Radio. Happy Thursday, everyone, and Jeremy is also here.
How's it going?
There we go. And so, on today's show, we will have some Nintendo news with Pokemon and whatnot, and then we have some PS4 news that something interesting has happened, and then we have some superhero talk, and as always, your nerd vocab for this week. So, Jeremy, why don't you start us off with the Nintendo news, like Pokemon, for instance? What is that?
Well, part of it has been shown for the upcoming re-release, or the kind of remaking Ruby and Sapphire from the Game Boy Advance. Was it a Mega Ruby and
Alpha Sapphire?
Yeah, the other one. They're showing more of the Mega Evolutions. They've kind of started leaking some of those out for like Slowbro, Arduino. I keep wanting to say Audino.
Arduino. I say Arduino.
The name on that one. I keep wanting to say Arduino, like the actual programming thing.
Arduino.
So they're showing off more of the Mega Evolutions for how those are going to work, because that's a mechanic they started in X and Y that they're now bringing back over to this one. And then they're showing more of the options where you can take your Pokemon. So they specifically show Pikachu, but I think they're doing more than just those.
The cosplay Pikachu, which is for the contest, because the Pokemon contests are coming back, which is
I think it's just more of revenge. People dress like Pikachu, not Pikachu dresses like them. I mean, it's just kind of a back and forth. It's escalating.
Right. It's really weird. And also the cosplay Pikachus get a special move for each of the, there's a sumo wrestler, not sumo, luchador one, which does a flying press, which is interesting, I guess, but
kind of an odd move for a Pikachu.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really, each of them have a different theme. So, besides that, yep, you have Mega Slowbro, which looks like a top almost. He's just standing on his tail.
The shell just keeps absorbing him, and now it's just kind of like he's in a sleeping bag with his arms sticking out, but it happens to be a shell.
Yeah, it's really weird. And then, Mega Audino, which they actually the trailer just released before I left the house, so that was interesting. Mega Altaria, which looks like looked like it bathed in cotton candy a bit. It's just so fluffy, and it has the ability to pixelate, so all its normal moves or whatever get turned to fairy type. I don't know. Then Mega Salamence, which looks like a boomerang spaceship kind of thing. I think it looks cool. It looks pretty cool.
That one I have actually seen, because I've seen lots of little jokes about it being a spaceship. One person, they replaced it as the saucer section on the Enterprise. Just weird little pictures they did.
And then you have Mega Lopunny, which is the bunny-looking Pokemon that gets a Mega.
Rabbit.
And it gets the Scrappy ability, so it can hit Ghost. So it's like a normal fighting that's immune to Ghost, but it can hit Ghost.
I thought that required a proton pack.
So it's a Ghost killer. Proton pack. Maybe you can cosplay the Lopunny and it'll have that or something.
Ghostbuster stuff. Yeah, there you
Ghostbuster Lopunny.
Oh, Lord.
Anyways, in Hyrule Warrior news, Hyrule Warriors was released in Japan, and they've shown off several trailers that if you haven't heard, you can play as Ganondorf or... What's his name?
They have Vaati and some of the other guys. Like, pretty much all the villains are going to be playable, the main 3.
Right, and Girahim, that's his name.
Yeah, Girahim and them. But they're going to have their own story mode as well. They're not just free play use. They've announced there's going to be their own full villain story. So that's already 2 full story branches right there.
Cool.
Along with the free play mode. They're doing the costumes through Club Nintendo or the different retailers, and then they're also announcing there's going to be expansions and more content coming out after about a year or so.
After about a year? Huh.
Yeah, they're pretty much doing, planning for long-term support, as they say.
Oh.
So hopefully we'll actually get more stuff for it later on.
I guess I'll have to dust it off after a year when they release something new, because that just seems like a long time. So yeah, and let's see, the release date on that, by the way, is September 26th, if you did not know.
Right, here in North America.
And Meta Knight has been announced for Super Smash Brothers. I don't know. Jeremy's excited. I'm a bit iffy, as long as they nerf him.
His moves have been
lot.
changed a little bit, but I mean, they kind of teased him earlier this week. They were showing off like the abilities for the Mii fighters to have the costumes that you can unlock in your 3DS, and one of them had his mask on.
Right.
So a lot of people are wondering, and I don't know if as of Showtime, it wasn't announced yet, but they're hoping that Ganondorf will finally get announced again today, because they're still doing Gamescom over in Germany right now.
Oh, maybe.
It's a far fetch, but they've kind of been teasing a few things, so who knows?
Yeah, maybe if they give him swords or something instead of being a clone of Captain Falcon, or...
It worked out pretty well for that, though.
Yeah, I mean, he was still fun to use sometimes, but it's just like, it's Captain Falcon, obviously.
Yeah.
So, also, there's been a Smash Brothers 3DS in Europe, which is like red, and it has a whole bunch of characters. And
I want that so bad.
Jeremy wants that really badly, which I can't exactly afford a new 3DS every time they come out with a new one. So
I wait for special editions, but this one, I really like how they're doing the artwork for it. Some of the other stuff they've actually announced for it, they showed off 2 new levels for the 3DS version, one of which is based off Paper Mario, where the world keeps folding and changing.
Oh.
And then they have another one that's an original Game Boy. So it looks like you're looking at a Game Boy screen, and it's going through different games and changing while you're fighting on it.
Huh. So that's kind of like the Game & Watch stages in the previous...
Right, or what was the Nintendo chat, or the DS chat one they had?
Oh, yeah. The
PictoChat
one, yeah.
That one was ridiculous. But they have that. They showed off more of the costumes and different alternate moves. Like Mega Man, you can use completely different weapons or other characters that come in to assist. They showed off the single-player mode finally for the 3DS as well, with kind of an adventure-type thing where you're on a map. But you can also bet the coins to make the game more difficult like you could in Kid Icarus.
Right.
So you can it's gambling for children.
Yeah, here's the basics of gambling, children. Only
Take your chance.
This one does not require luck. It requires a bit of skill because, you have to dodge and stuff like that. But
I guess that brings in the other topic you had with the coins.
Yeah, you can buy the trophies directly. At least that's what they hinted at.
They're having some of the ones that are like really hard to unlock. Instead of being pretty much limited to just a few people, they're having kind of a higher set price using play coins on your 3DS where you can unlock them.
Right. So, I mean...
It's not for every one of them, but...
For some people, that might be a bit cheaty because, it's like anybody can get it now.
Well, some of those things they had before, like the trophies where you had to get through like 200 people on the hardest mode on all this crazy stuff you had to do.
I couldn't do that.
I don't even have them yet. I mean, there's friends of mine that are tournament level players. They still can't get all of them because it's just ridiculous. And I would use the hammer and the last ones to do it. This is just using your play coins instead of just using the hammers.
Right.
So, I mean, there's been precedents before.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that'll be it for the Nintendo news for right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to take a break here. The song is Still Alive from Portal. We haven't heard that one in a while. And you are listening to the Nerd Edification Hour on Alternation Radio.
This was a triumph. I'm making a note here, huge success. It's hard to overstate my satisfaction. Aperture science. We do what we must because we can. For the good of all of us, except the ones who are dead. But there's no sense crying over every mistake. You just keep on trying till you run out of cake. And the science gets done and you make a neat gun for the people who are still alive. I'm not even angry. I'm being so sincere right now. Lisa. That was a joke, haha, that chance. Anyway, this cake is great, it's so delicious and moist. Look at me still talking when there's science to do. When I look out there, it makes me glad I'm not you. I've experiments to run, there is research to be done on the people who are still alive. And believe me, I am still alive. I'm doing science and I'm still alive. I feel fantastic and I'm still alive. While you're dying, I'll be still alive. And when you're dead, I will be still alive. Still alive. Still alive.
All right, and welcome back to the Nerd Edification Hour. I'm Jeremy Powers, and back again with Caleb. And one thing we're going to go ahead and jump into a little bit here, something we don't normally cover, but celebrity deaths of what's occurred lately, and kind of really sad news for those of us that really enjoy comedy and a lot of stuff, is the sad passing of Robin Williams here recently. He finally kind of succumbed to depression he's been in for a while, as they've kind of reported and his family's talked about, and took his own life earlier in the week.
Right. It was about Monday, or at least when I heard about it. I was
Right.
sitting there at work, and all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh, Robin Williams is dead," and and when I went to Facebook, that was like the first thing that popped up. I'm like, "Is that a hoax?" And I guess not. Now we can
Yeah, well,
confirm it that it's not.
Yeah, I was first told about it actually pretty quickly after it happened on Twitter and some of the other places. So it's just, he's been a comedian or just someone that I've watched for most of my entire life. I mean, when I was a little kid, I used to watch reruns of Mork and Mindy. I remember, the old movies like Good Morning Vietnam and things like that, where he would really kind of push the boundaries on both comedy as well as drama. What Dreams May Come is one of my favorite ones that he did, if you've ever seen that one, which actually covers death itself.
Irony? Would it be irony or just...
Well, the idea behind it is his children die, and then him and his wife try and continue. Then he dies, and it's what he's trying to come to terms with afterwards. And then his wife commits suicide in his journey to try and get her back. It's a really, really well done movie. So I highly recommend that one to watch for people, definitely.
Interesting. So if you're having problems with depression or anything like that, you should really tell somebody. That's what the big message here that everybody's telling everybody. And even this news popped up on the IGN, which is mostly a gaming.
They cover a lot of stuff for movies
yeah.
and things too. I mean, he's had a big part. He was a very avid gamer as well. He was a huge fan of The Legend of Zelda when it first started, and he's been very open on the fact that his daughter, Zelda Williams, is named after Zelda from The Legend of Zelda. That's where they got the name. He, up even until recently, would talk and play a lot of games. He's been involved in different video games, if you remember Hook and stuff like that. And he's being immortalized through World of Warcraft. They're actually adding a character in there about him as well, an NPC in some of the towns. Kind of a way to keep his memory alive in their world.
That's interesting. But how would that work? Would he just give out quests, or he just pop up like some of these?
I don't know if they've actually said everything yet. I'm sure he's probably just to be someone that they can talk to that'll probably use a lot of his jokes or references and kind of keep that humor going.
Is there a chance he'll be a card in Hearthstone? Hearthstone? That'd be
not sure. I'm curious how they're going to handle it, but I don't see it as a bad thing. I mean, they're trying to remember him in the way that they do best, so why not?
Yeah, why not? So that's really interesting. So what? The only thing I can remember really is that he was the flubber guy, and he was in Aladdin. He played the genie, which I always used to watch when I was like 2 years old, like constantly for some reason, whatever.
Well, it was an
head.
ingenious role because he was always so good. Like, I remember him from when I was a kid from Popeye as well, because he was the one that finally brought Popeye into a real life setting. But all the acting, the voice work, I mean, he was incredibly talented for how he could just impersonate and do all these different things, where he could pull off ridiculous roles like Mrs. Doubtfire. I mean, you're taking this small, incredibly hairy guy and dressing him up like a woman and making it convincing that he's this British nanny. And the way he would do that, or the fact he played a grown-up Peter Pan, and how he would handle that. Even later roles where he was very good in like a lot of his drama and things like that, or even as a villain. He did that in a couple movies like 1 hour photo, and kind of shocked everybody at how well he could pull that off and the range of what he would do. But I mean, a lot of it comes down to, I mean, some people don't realize some of the funniest people around you can still suffer from depression and things like that. They're just, a lot of them are able to hide it really well, usually behind their own comedy. You know, they'll focus on making other people laugh, trying to cheer themselves up or to do these things. So it's something you have to kind of watch for. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, some people it's really hard to tell. You can never really tell what's going on in someone's mind. Like my mind, I don't even know what's going on up there in my head. I mean, not bragging or anything, but I mean, I don't. It's really interesting. Like, would you say he was very talented at doing a whole bunch of voices and anything? I mean, I can do some voices, but they're not.
very few people could do it like he could, though.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, because he would
Exactly.
commit
He was-
to everything so well and the craziness of what he would do.
He was gifted. That's what we can say.
Yeah.
So, I mean, any other interesting facts, Jeremy? That's
Not really. I mean, it's just sad to see him go. I mean, he was a huge part of my childhood, especially for like entertainment and just things that I remember seeing as a kid and growing up with. So, yeah.
So there you have it. Robin Williams you will be missed,
Mm-hmm.
but we must move on to the next thing. We're gonna take a break here. This is a new song here. This is "Drown" by Theory of a Dead Man, and I must say this is one of their more one of their better songs, more or less. So this is the Nerd Edification Hour on Alternation Radio.
Ebb and flow, the sea is cold, but my blood counts to boil. I feel it filling up my lungs, the weight pulls me to soil. Current takes me, breath escapes me, inducing coma sleep. Close my eyes and paralyzed, finally at peace. Another sunny day, I feel like getting in the water.
All right, you are listening to the Nerd Edification Hour on Alternation Radio, and now it is time for your nerd vocab. This week, words, words. So this week's nerd vocab is kind of more of a... It's
Acronym.
That's it. I can never remember that word. It's
That's what I'm
acronym.
here for.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. So this week is OVA or OAV, which are kind of two different things, but they're the same thing. So it stands for Original Video Animation. That's OVA. And then OAV is Original Animated Video.
Right.
Which this is meant for animated things that are being released straight to the market. And they're not released in theaters or whatever, so they're given a higher budget, and they're more, they look better than if, say, it was just original. So something like Fairy Tale, you ever watch that?
Not that one. The one that comes to mind for me is I was a huge Gundam Wing fan, and they showed it on TV and they separated it into episodes, but they had the actual movie, which was Endless Waltz. For that one, which is kind of their final movie. It's a much higher production than a lot of the stuff they did, but that's a lot of what people consider like OVAs. It's basically a direct-to-video movie,
right,
for a series.
So here, if you have, if you ever seen a commercial like, here's a movie so good, we're gonna send it straight to DVD or to video cassette.
For some of that, a lot of for anime, it's treated a little bit differently. Like for straight to video for some movies is kind of a bad sign. But for anime, it's commonplace. It's pretty much how a lot of the series will actually end out their series. It's kind of their epilogue to the whole thing. It comes back later on. You could even consider something like, what was it, Final Fantasy, what was that movie from Final Fantasy VII? Advent Children?
Yes.
That will be considered an OVA because it's a direct-to-video movie, but it was also kind of the epilogue to the stories they did from the games. So that would be considered an OVA as well.
Right. So, I mean, they had to do this because sometimes it would get mixed up with some other certain content that it's adult stuff that, that's why they did this. That's why they say here's...
Yeah. I mean, because a lot of them, like the Dragon Ball Z one recently, is kind of an oddity. They rarely ever get actually put into theaters. But there was a limited release here, even locally, for the new Dragon Ball Z movie that came out. That you can go see it in theaters. So it's kind of an odd one for that because I think it would still be considered an OVA.
It's just I was hearing about it and then I saw it somewhere and I'm just like, what is this even?
Right.
So we're gonna move right along now to a little bit of. We're gonna talk about Guardians. That's what was
comic books. Yep. And we'll try and make this as spoiler free as possible.
Spoiler free,
because that would just annoy people.
So I went to see Guardians last night and it was good.
Oh, I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
I probably would have liked it a bit more if everybody didn't hype it up so much.
Oh, I was fine with it. I was hyping the heck out of it because when I went and saw it, it lived up to everything I wanted it to be. I mean, I got all the references. I'm a huge Marvel Comics fan, especially when you get into kind of the cosmic realm type stuff where, Celestials, the Elders, the Guardians, things like that.
Yeah.
This was all such an unexpected, out-of-the-blue thing for them to do. Everybody knows the Avengers. Nobody really knew the Guardians.
Yeah, I had to explain to my mom. She was like, what is Guardians? I'm like, well, it's a very obscure one. It's, not as well known. And I was having to explain things. And so, I mean, yeah, it was good. I liked it. It was fantastic even. But I felt like everything I was hearing, it was like hyping up. And I was like, it was good.
Like I said, I still think it lived up to the hype. I mean, it actually, everything fit together and worked so well.
There was action. There was comedy. There
was a lot of comedy. Surprisingly large amount, which was great. And Chris Pratt was the main character. He's the one that plays Star-Lord. He's known from Parks and Recreation. He's a really funny guy. He was the voice of the main character from the Lego movie. So, I mean, he's very well known for comedy as well as his action. So I thought, their whole cast was so well done. Even something as simple as Vin Diesel as Groot, and the way he was doing, all he ever says basically is, I am Groot.
I am Groot.
But he says it in different tones and ways, and the way they play off of that.
And then Rocket's like, well, yeah, because Rocket can understand him, so.
Well, everyone eventually starts talking like that, like they can just get him, because that's his whole race. It's hilarious. I don't know. If you have not seen it yet, it's definitely worth going to see.
Right.
It's a great expansion for the Marvel Universe, and it's a really good showing of things to come.
Yeah, it's what they call, like, if you don't see any movie this summer but one, this would be the one.
I'd get out of the house more than that.
Well, you know what I mean. I was saying, for those who don't get out of the house too often, like myself.
Fair enough.
So yeah, it was pretty good. A lot of references, a lot of action, lots of comedy. Rocket was probably the highlight of the whole movie because he's Rocket.
Yeah, he was kind of an oddball one. It took a lot to understand that. And these characters aren't new. Rocket himself has been around since, I believe, the late 60s as different characters. They've been around for quite a while. And they just kind of more recently brought him in as a newer group because this is the second Guardians of the Galaxy group. One of the characters that's involved in the movie, you'll see a blue guy with kind of a red tiny mohawk. He is actually one of the original Guardians of the Galaxies, but they don't really reference it.
So the guy with the
arrow?
Yes. That was, ooh.
And that's actually directly from the comics, that weapon. So
yeah, that was pretty cool. It was like that one scene. I was just like, oh, I didn't know. Okay. I didn't know he'd do that.
Yeah, he can do a lot with that thing. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to go see it if you haven't yet. So that'll be it. We're going to take another break here. And this one is Red River by the Heartbreakers. And you are listening to the Nerd Edification Hour on Alternation Radio.
She's got a 3D Jesus in a picture frame. Got a child she never named. She shakes a snake above her hair. Talks in tongues when there's no one there. So meet me tonight at the Red River where the water is clear and cold. Meet me tonight at the Red River and look down into your soul. Look down into your soul.
All right, and welcome back to Geek Edification Hour. This is Jeremy once again. I keep saying geek, nerd, whatever.
Tom says geek too. So
Someone said that earlier.
Yep.
But we're going to continue on with our comic book stuff, and we're going to jump into some of the more recent news of Superman versus Batman, which is DC's attempt to kind of revitalize their movie series. Because one thing Marvel Comics has been really good about is they've merged all of their production together. All their movies focus on the same universe. Even the TV shows that they're producing are all going to focus on the same universe. DC has got their stuff really splintered out, which is odd because they actually own all of their stuff. They don't have the problem like Marvel where certain parts are owned by Fox and all that. So with Superman vs. Batman, they're trying to bring in more of the Justice League, and they've announced recently they're going to have cameos, and they've cast, I'm not sure the guy's name yet, but they've cast somebody to play as Aquaman. They've already shown off Wonder Woman. They've had references that they're going to have possibly the Flash and Green Lantern show up at some point. Kind of trying to set it up for a Justice League. And I believe they did announce they are going to do a Justice League movie now as well.
Yeah, well,
it's got potential to see how it goes.
Potential.
Yeah, I kind of wish they would bring in their stuff from their TV shows. I can understand them not using Smallville. That's kind of an odd one. But their more recent one, like Green Arrow and the upcoming Flash, both of them look or have been really, really well done and kind of dabble into that whole universe. And if they would actually connect it and bring it in, they could have that expanded universe right there. But they've already announced they're not going to bridge them. They're separate entities.
Yeah, which is really strange because Flash is part of the Justice League, or at least later on.
So is Green Arrow.
Yeah.
Well, Flash is one of the founding members. So if they
Exactly.
have Flash,
So-
they're going to have to recast somebody else. And
Yeah, I don't see what the, Marvel did it. Look how easy it is. And honestly, beforehand, I don't see why they didn't ever do that. But like, you know what I mean? Like, here's a Spider-Man.
The budgeting
movie
wasn't
or
there, and
something.
yeah. Well, like with Marvel, like I said, their problem is like Sony owns the Spider-Man franchise. Fox has got like the Silver Surfer, Fantastic Four, and the X-Men. So Marvel's
And
having
Ghost
to kind
Rider.
of.
That's
I think they got Ghost Rider back.
really.
I know they got Daredevil back.
Huh.
Because they're going through and doing the Netflix series of the Punisher and Daredevil, so they can kind of do a more unedited version available for streaming, and then do the movies, and then whatever other TV shows they tie in. So they're a little more limited, but they have a wider, expanded universe because of it. So
It's all just really weird and messed up and whatever.
it's nerdy, and that's what we do.
It's nerdy. Yep, that's what we cover.
I don't know. I still think Aquaman can be a good character if handled correctly.
Yeah, Aquaman's trident actually can cut Superman.
That's magic. Yeah,
that's
one of his two weaknesses.
canon, which, I don't ever see why they don't give Aquaman the ability to control water itself, but I guess that's what the Triton is for.
He does to a point. It kind of.
It's
I mean,
just-
they made him. I think they did a lot better job recently when they made him more of an actual king, because that's what he is. So he acts more like it, and he's kind of like a King Arthur.
Or like
type
in
pose.
the Injustice, like the way he fights in there, he's kind of got water and stuff going on. So
Yeah, he can use it
That
to
was
a
pretty
point,
cool.
but he doesn't directly control it because he's more of controlling the animals and things. But I don't know. They've taken him away from the campy bright orange and green pants, and they still reference that as part of his
no,
suit.
there's an oil spill. Come, fellow creatures of the deep, help
Yeah.
me fight.
And they've been using that in some interesting ways still, though.
It's just everybody always picks on Aquaman, like, haha, look at Aquaman. He
The
can't
Robot
do
Chicken
anything.
video was still the greatest thing. That whole DC thing was fantastic. Because that's all they did was made fun of Aquaman until they actually needed him.
Aquaman, we need you. Nope, sorry. So, speaking of what obscure superheroes, Inhuman, which
The Inhumans.
I don't really know a lot about, except for Black Bolt, which
Black Bolt, Medusa, Gort. Well, maybe not Gort. That's a different one. I don't know why I just said Gort. That's a Green Lantern. It's going to bother me now. I can't remember the rest of them.
Yeah, exactly. That's how obscure they are. Is that Jeremy can't?
Well, I
remember.
have, and I have a bunch of the books at the house. I can picture every one of them in my head. I just can't remember them. What it is they were kind of like an earlier Marvel mutants, and they were exposed to what's called the Terrigen Mist, and that actually evolved them into these Inhumans, these other creatures. And they kind of live separately from humanity, and they chill out on the moon now. They kind of moved off the planet. It's an interesting jump into that, but it's another one of those aspects of Marvel I think they're going to be covering, because they've already announced they're doing a Doctor Strange movie, so they're getting more into the occult and the magic side of it. And the Inhumans are kind of a bridge between the Guardians area, Thor's area, and Doctor Strange. They kind of exist in all three and how they work.
And Doctor Strange, he gets around, like, he crosses dimensions and everything.
Yeah.
He
gets coffee, goes to this dimension, comes back, gets lunch, goes to another dimension.
And actually, in the Amazing Spider-Man show that they had on Disney or whatever,
Right.
they do reference him doing that because he just goes to the place in the Himalayan mountains. What is it?
I'm not sure the exact. I know his house in New York
the
was the Sanctum Sanctorum.
Iron Fist's place.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Gala Gib.
Not a clue.
The.
Well, we have a new word for we have a new word for next time.
It's gonna bother me. But yeah, he just shows up there and gets coffee, and then he goes. He's like, and Spider-Man's like, "Who is that? Doctor Strange?" Like, yeah, he just comes here coffee. He just comes here gets coffee. That's fine.
That's what he does.
It's it's gonna bother me. It's
not Valhalla. That's Thor.
Not Valhalla. It's Shangri-La or something like that.
Yeah, Shangri-La is a place that
Shangri-La.
you can't find. Yeah,
I think that's what it was. So
that might work. I don't remember that being for Iron Fist, but that could work.
I just spent this whole time thinking, how professional am I? Jeez. Well, so Inhuman, Black Bolt, I know what he does. He flies, and he has a voice that...
Well, basically, if he speaks at all, it destroys
he
things.
He can't speak. He's like the Skyrim white graybeards. Not whitebeards.
Yeah, he has
the
to...
graybeard. He
pretty much
can't speak.
Yeah, he has to be communicated with telepathically. They had... Medusa, she's got a lot of superpowers. She has things she can do with her hair. There's some of the other guys, I wish I remember their name. There was a dog that can transport them anywhere. Another guy that can see any imperfection and what point to break anything. So he can just walk up and tap something in the right spot and break it and do these things.
Kind of scary.
Other ones that could stamp his feet and cause these huge explosions. I mean, that was the main group of the Inhumans, but there was a whole civilization beyond that, and
they're a bunch of misfits, basically, just like Guardians are. They're
not really a bunch of misfits. I mean, they're royalty, they're a whole little civilization, but they're a different off-branching of humanity. They were actually caused by, I believe, partly by the Celestials themselves as experiments, and kind of went off on their own and hid.
I think that's...
So, I mean, that ties back in with stuff from Guardians, and it kind of goes around from there. So,
see, you gotta. I could never sit there and think of these different ways to put all these stories together this. And, I mean, I'm sure if I locked myself in my room, had a whole bunch of coffee, and just sat there.
Well, I mean, they have decades of stories to go back, so it's not like they have to make these connections. They're there. They just have to reference them at some point, and these connections will make themselves.
Right. There's source material. Come on. Source material, everybody.
And they've been really good about using that source material.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, that was... There we go, Inhumans. So you can look forward to that, and you can probably look forward to Aquaman, which might even have his own movie, which I don't see... I wouldn't
be too bad about that. I mean, that should be a pretty good one. I still think Wonder Woman needs to have a good one by herself as well, because that's a whole story I think that could be handled really well.
Heard anything else about that? I haven't heard anything.
Still not doing one. She'll show up in Batman, Superman, but beyond that, I don't know.
They're going to have to make it really smooth transition because, just Batman and Superman fighting each other, and all of a sudden, hey guys, it's like, what? There's a lady here. When she get here?
There'll probably be something in their story related, but I'm curious to see how it's going to be. I'm a little more rocky on the DC stuff. It's always been Marvel does better live action movies. They're top notch on those, but their animation kind of takes a hit. DC doesn't do as good on live action, but their animation is some of the best they've done. For a lot, I mean, any of the DC animated movies and things really stick to what they should be doing in the live action. So I just kind of take it like that.
So there you go. You heard it here first.
Hey, that's my ruling.
That's your ruling. So we're gonna. The next song here is "Still Alive" by Mirror's Edge, not by the Portal people. So apparently they have the same song title. So I was like, oh, okay. And then we'll be talking about the PlayStation 4 after that. And you're listening to the Nerd Edification Hour on Alternation Radio. You are listening to the Nerd Edification Hour on Alternation Radio. Now we have some PlayStation 4 news, some interesting software, not hardware. Ooh.
Well, it involves the hardware to a point.
I guess it does. So, anyways, PS4 share to play.
Yeah, what they're sorry, move the mic. So what they're doing with this is Sony's kind of going a couple different ideas. They've got their PlayStation Now where they're trying to stream all their games. You can rent it, and that's been a disaster. They're overcharging. People aren't able to play. All kinds of fun stuff. On the flip side, they finally are announcing when they're bringing in a one of their promised first features they announced with the PS4, which is where you can share your games with others to join in and play.
And they don't have to have it, which is
basically
very big.
Yeah.
You know.
Basically what it's going to do is like you have to be home, log into your PS4, send an invite to your friend to play the game, and then you give up control of your system to your friend to play it remotely. And they get the video stream coming in. They control it. They can save their game locally, so if they decide they want to buy the game later, they can pick right up where they left off. And the only kicker is you can't play your PS4 while they're using it, obviously. But it's still a really great way to share it. Like, hey, I want you to try this game out, and if they don't want to rent it or try it, well, just play yours and go from there.
Right. It's fairly interesting. It's almost like what they have on YouTube, where they will, well, what they're doing with their streaming service is say, hey, look, here's this game if you want to check it out. Look how pretty it is, and look at the gameplay and stuff. Ooh, you know,
I can see this being a much easier way to kind of handle that. And I wonder if they're going to expand it beyond this. Because if they're just doing the input controls, if they can get a PS4 controller to work on a PS3, can those people try out PS4 games from their friends eventually, you know, and be able to try it out and be like, hey, I really like this. Maybe I'll go buy a PS4.
Right. And so this is like PS4 to PS3?
No, PS4 to PS4. I'm wondering if they'll be able to bring that feature in later because
to the PS3. Well,
because all your system's doing is processing the stream and the controls. Well, I guess the only kicker would be memory. You wouldn't be able to save it locally.
Yeah, and something with, like, I guess you're saying with, like, PS3 can try a PS4 game? Is that what you're...
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like now, like, you can take a Vita and stream it over to a PS4 game to your Vita to try it out. Technically, I wonder if you could do the same thing. It'd be a way to kind of get people to try out PS4 games. Like, say, like the new Grand Theft Auto. They're releasing it on PS4 later this year as well as Xbox One. Your friend's got it on PS3. It's like, oh, what's the difference? Well, here, log in real quick and give it a try.
I think the difference would be the touchpad on the thing.
Well, the touchpad, and then they did a complete graphical overhaul on it. So who knows?
So yeah, that's pretty interesting. I would. I mean, that sounds pretty cool.
It's a good way to kind of share your games and join in with other people because you can also, if they're playing and they're stuck somewhere they can't get through it, they can let you take control of the game and help them through that part and then take back over whatever you want to do. So I'm curious to see how it is, and we're going to try some stuff for live broadcasting it ourselves to see how that's going to work because we can do the stream. We'll use external hardware and stream that out so we can get multiple people playing the same game messing with each other. That can end up with some pretty hilarious scenarios.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Especially when Minecraft comes out later this year.
Minecraft is like, whoops, I sneezed and push you into the lava. Whoops, sorry.
Or just take control and start messing with people. They're trying to build and you just start opening up their doors, letting creepers in. It's
like, no. That's a nice new statue you got there. Boom.
It'd be a pity if something happened to it.
It'd be a shame if something happened to it.
Covered in dynamite.
So what else? Has anything new happened with Twitch? Do you know about that? Or?
Twitch keeps going back and forth on their whole issue where if they hear any kind of like licensed music either in the game or if you have a radio in the background or someone tries to do that, they're cutting out audio in half-an-hour chunks.
Yeah, which, if you have like 2 seconds of a song and they'll cut it out 30 minutes of it, yeah. And it's like, what?
Some companies are doing it for just sound effects, things like that. They're doing a lot of that on YouTube as well, not so much as the cutting the sound is all that, but they're sending out a lot of copyright notices. Like Capcom came after me for Monster Hunter for sound effects, not for music, because I turned all the music off when we stream our Monster Hunter sessions. But they put a notice on there for copyright just for sound effects.
Sound effects, that's a little ridiculous, though. I mean...
Yeah, I'm like, do I just need to mute the entire game and play, and all you hear is us talking and me silently killing a giant dinosaur?
Yeah, I mean, that's... Wow. I mean, like, last week, though, Twitch is stopping things that don't even have any music at all if it's just somebody's voice.
Well, no, it's worse. They stopped some of their own. Some of
Yeah,
their own recordings
some of
got
their own
muted.
stuff.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Even if you own the rights to it, like if a game developer is playing a game.
Yeah, and you
They'll
have to
get
go
stopped
through a
too.
long process to refute it and bring in proof that you own the license or you got caught. I mean, it's way more of a hassle than it's worth. And I am wondering how that is going to affect, we'll take Capcom for existence. Obviously, they're not copywriting their own stuff, but they stream a lot of their own games, music and everything, showing it off, especially for the new Monster Hunter. I think the guys over at Rockstar are going to be doing stuff with Grand Theft Auto, kind of showing that off. And that's just slam full of licensed music.
Yeah. Even Watch Dogs has a lot of licensed music, which
Watchdog,
I
people
never-
got blocked for Fallout, like Fallout 3 or New Vegas, which had that really old, which is supposed to be just a lot of it's open source music because it's so old, but they still got banned for that. BioShock was the same way.
that's just. I mean, I know it needs to be done, but it's just kind of silly.
I don't think it
when
needs to be
this-
handled in this way, though.
Not in this way. No, it's just people need to take more responsibility in what they share with the world.
I still think, though,
But,
if it's music that's in
you
the
know.
game, it was licensed for the purpose of that game, that should be part of what the license covers for that.
Yeah, and if you bought the game, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I get like if someone's sitting there playing a game and they're just blaring a radio in the background, that can be considered, public showing.
Yeah, that would be
That's pushing it.
that would yeah.
But if it's something that's in the game you're playing that was already part of the license of what you paid for and what they got the license to put in there, it should be included. So I feel kind of odd about that one.
Yeah, I know this show, whenever I upload it on YouTube, it does sometimes get muted.
Yeah, I've
but
told you
all
that
I-
before too. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
your sound's gone.
It's like, hey Caleb, you got a little problem there. I can't hear it at all.
Yeah.
Oh,
I only get to hear my parts. I have to sit there and pretty much just re-talk over myself.
Yeah, I mean,
Redub everybody.
I think about you doing that. It's funny.
I'm Caleb.
Hello. It's kind of
Fantastic.
Kind of like having watching a Spanish soap opera and just like
Just adding your own stuff, yeah. I don't even stick to the story. I just make up voices. It's entertaining.
it's very entertaining. So, other than that, what's anything else interesting going on this week? Or
I'm still waiting for my Smash Brothers. I want that GameCube controller. I'm waiting for more information on the Wii U version, but that doesn't come out till later this year.
yeah, so Bayonetta 2 won't come out till the beginning of next year, somewhere around there.
No, Bayonetta 2 is next month.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. That's 2 games that are
like
next
September
month.
9th,
Well,
I think.
That close?
It's pretty close.
Well, there
it's
you go.
sometime, or maybe later in the month. I know it's in September. They have announced. They said I already knew it's Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 2. You get both of them together. Bayonetta 1, they've got more costumes that change how the game works. They've shown what 3 of them will do and look like. One of them they've only shown what it looks like yet, and they said there's more to announce. So right now it's just Link's costume, Samus's suit, Princess Peach's outfit, and we know what those 3 do. And then Princess Daisy has her costume in there, but we don't know what it does yet.
Right. I even saw the screenshot actually you were talking about with Mennonite. It had Samus, like with the Mii's and stuff,
Mhm.
where they can change, and the sword was like a laser sword. I could get
That's the
That's probably what
swords.
my
That's the
character's
swordsman or something like that. Because there's 3 different classes of the Mii fighters. So I'm curious how that's going to work. Because you've got the shooter, the swordsmith, and then the fighter.
right. So I mean, obviously, shooter kind of look more like Samus in a way, but
Well, because
I-
they've got like a blaster that they can use, but you can bring in looks like all the same costume parts you can for your Mii's on your 3DS. So as you unlock stuff, it might carry over, which is great because I've got some of the most ridiculous stuff, and I will play Smash Brothers with a Virtual Boy pasted to my face,
that'll be interesting.
or a GameCube, or I have an N64, the NES, the Famicom, all of those you can just slap to your head and play with game consoles. Why not?
It's like, look at me. The only thing I have, are you talking about the hats for the Mii's? Yeah, like
Have your head sticking out of a 3DS or a DS.
That'd be that's gonna be interesting. So let's see what else. Any other interesting tidbits? Spit.
Hideo Kojima is going to be doing the new Silent Hill with Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, I heard something about
Of Hellboy
Silent
fame.
Hill. So
Yeah, it's kind of an odd one. Looks like they're taking some of the cast off of The Walking Dead to actually do a new Silent Hill game. But it's kind of surprising that it's these two, that Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro are the ones doing it together. which Del Toro is known for Pan's Labyrinth, the Hellboy movies, things like that. And, of course, Kojima we all know from Metal Gear. That's basically what he does. So he's wanting to, as he puts it, I'm editing a little bit, have everyone crap themselves play this game while you play it. Just scare yourself.
Yeah, just wear a diaper. So
Yeah.
just wear a diaper just to be safe.
So we're looking at that, and then the other thing is Metal Gear Solid 5 has been officially announced to be coming to Steam as well.
Yeah, I heard
It's
about
not
that.
console
So
exclusive.
that'd be interesting. I mean, I'm not that into the Metal Gear games, but maybe I'll give it a whirl if
Well, it's kind of a lot of people were like, well, we have to get either an Xbox One or a PS4 to play this new Metal Gear, and they're like, no, you can just use your PC.
yeah, you just use the PC that you bought a while ago. So
Yeah, it's a whole nother debate for that, where it's between all the three new consoles and the way they're being handled. But
yep. Well, that'll pretty much do it here on the Nerd Edification Hour. Thank you for listening. Don't forget about all the socials. We're on Twitter and Facebook. Not all the socials, but that's Nerd Edification and at Nerd Edification on Twitter. Thank you for listening, and till next week, stay fancy.
peace.